Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Crowns of Nyaxia, whatever that name is. So this is a fantasy romance series that it has 2 novels and 1 novella, and I read fantasy all the time, but if you have watched like literally any of my videos, you know that I don't like romance. And I very rarely read it. So why am I reading this, you may ask? Because what I've heard about it was that it has vampires and it has like a Hunger Games type of contest, and that sounds very, very fun. And also the only ways that I ever enjoy romance is when it's in another, like in a fantasy setting or like science fiction or just not like the real world. So, I thought that it was actually a way for me to maybe possibly enjoy the romance. And also this is spoiler free, and let's just get into the video. Okay, I am 55% into The Serpent and Doings of Night, so the first book in the series, and we are following Oraya, and she is a human, but she is the adopted daughter of the vampire king, and so she lives surrounded by vampires. She has lived there since she was very little, when she was rescued by the king, and she obviously is constantly in danger because, again, she's the only human surrounded by vampires. And there is a way for her to stop having to be afraid and on alert all the time, and that is to compete in a tournament that is called the Kejari, and it is held by the goddess of death. And whoever wins the tournament can have a wish granted by the goddess. And so Oraya will finally be able to be as strong as she wants and just, fit in better in the world she lives in. And in that tournament, it has, I think, 5 faces. And she has to align with some people. And so she aligns with a couple people, and their names are, I'm probably gonna say them wrong, Mish and Rain. And I don't know if his name is Rain because it's Raihn. And like, if it is Rain, like, why is an H there? But I'm gonna call him Rain because I don't know what else to call him. And yeah, they have gone through a couple phases of the tournament, and they have been brutal, but also very entertaining and very exciting. And I really like the main character, and like, I really like her dynamic, her relationship with Vincent, who's the vampire king. But at the same time, I don't know if I can actually trust him because I just feel like I can't trust anybody in this book. So like, I don't know if I should actually like him. But then on the other hand, there is another character that I love, and that is Mish. She is adorable, but also a badass. And like I said, I love her. And I mean, so far, the romance has not really started. I mean, like, barely. But I'm pretty neutral about it. So like, so far so good. Oh, and there is like something happening like outside of the tournament because they are like pretty isolated. I mean, they can obviously go places and talk to people and everything, but they don't know like they don't know fully what is happening like in the rest of the realm because they're just, more focused obviously on their tournament. And there is something happening outside with the different houses of vampires. I don't know if they're houses, but the different groups of vampires, and it is also in a way affecting the tournament. And yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. I am really enjoying it. I'm really liking the like vampire aspect of the book because there are like different, like I said, different groups of vampires, and we get to see the different skills, different powers, I guess, they use. And there are also other powers that are not related to the vampires, which are also pretty cool. And I'm also liking the tournament itself. It is pretty brutal, but I really like that. Like I said, so far so good, but it could still change on whether like it starts focusing too much on the romance. So yeah, I am having a good time with this book, and I will probably finish it and update you unless like something absolutely insane happens. But so far the plan is to finish it, and I will update again. Okay, so I have finished the first book and I really liked it. I'm actually surprised with how much I liked it. And I mean, the tournament continued to be brutal, like even more than before. And we also got to know something from Oraya's past, like when she was a bit younger. And like we were getting hints before, like after the beginning of every part, there was like an interlude, and it was about that. And yeah, we finally got to see exactly what happened. And then there were like 3 plot twists or reveals, and one of them I was like pretty sure was gonna happen. Another one I wasn't as sure, but I was like I thought it was going to happen. But I don't mind that because I actually liked that they happened, even though they were not good things like, at all. They were actually really bad, but it definitely makes the story more interesting. And then there was a third that I did not see coming, but like it explains a lot. And yeah, I mean, I had so much fun, and I was like so invested in the tournament and in what was happening, and like so excited to see what would happen at the end of this book. And yeah, it was a really fun time, and I think I am probably gonna give it 4 stars, but I will give my final rating at the end of the video. And now I think there is a novella like between book 1 and book 2, so I am gonna read that one. I don't know what it's called though. Okay, I found it. It's 6 Scorched Roses, I think. So I am gonna read that. I will probably like read the whole thing because I think it's a novella, so it's short. So I will probably read the whole thing and we'll let you know what I think. And then we will move on to book 2, which I also don't know the name of. Okay, so I'm here again because I was filming my update for 6 Scorched Roses, and I was talking about the romance that happened there, and I realized that I don't think I ended up talking about the romance that happened in this book, like what I thought about it. And I mean, I didn't think much about it because like, I didn't care about it. I didn't dislike it, which is already like a victory. I already see that as a win. And yeah, I did not dislike it, but I also like didn't really care about it. But I will say that the fact that there was a romance definitely made the whole drama at the end of the book better, like more dramatic. So, I mean, I guess I am glad that there was a romance. So there's that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and let's keep going. Okay, so I finished wow. I finished Six Scorched Roses. Oh my god, I can never say this title. I finished it and I really, really liked it. So in this one, we were following other characters and it was actually like set somewhere else. And the main character we were following was called Lilith. And there is a plague affecting her town. And most of the people do get very sick and they die with that plague. And she's trying to find a cure. And she starts talking to a vampire that lives like on the outskirts of the town. He has lived there, I think, for 200 years, but I could be wrong. But a few centuries. But yeah, she talks to him and she wants his blood because she thinks that it could work for a cure. And in exchange for the blood, she will give him a rose every time she goes to collect the blood. And she says that they are like special, magical roses, but she doesn't tell him like why, what they have that makes them special. And this whole thing, like everything she's doing is dangerous, not only because she's human and she is like working with a vampire, which would be dangerous by itself, but also because of the gods, because the plague that is affecting her town was created by their god, and the goddess of the vampires is like hated by all the other gods. So if the god that created the plague knows that she is working with a vampire, it will be like even worse. He will be even angrier with all of those humans. And so everything is very dangerous, and I was so invested in what she was doing. And at first I didn't even know if this was like happening at the same time as the story of book 1. And after I learned whether it was or not, I don't know how I feel about what this meant. I'm trying to be very vague here. But like I was saying, I was so invested in what Lilith was doing and I loved her so much. And I was just connected to her so much as well. And yeah, I absolutely loved the main character. And the romance, like, it felt very rushed. But again, it was a novella, so I feel like it would always feel very rushed. But once again, I didn't hate it. Which, again, I see that as a victory. If we ignore the romance that I didn't care about, but also didn't dislike, everything else I really enjoyed, and the plot was so good, and I was really invested in the plot, and the main character was incredible, and so yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think I'm gonna also give this one 4 stars, but again, I will give my final ratings at the end of the video. And now, going into book 2, I don't really know what to think because this book has kind of changed my perspective on something. And yeah, but I am excited to go into book 2, and yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I am 50-ish% into The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I don't even know if that's the title because the titles of these books are so complicated. But I am around halfway through. And, you know what, I am no longer neutral about the romance. I don't like it. And to make it worse, this book is so much more about the romance than anything else. And I mean, it's not exactly like romance, but like their feelings. And that is all that's happening, especially in one of the POVs, because this one is dual POV. And especially in one of the POVs, like it's everything they think about. And I'm just like, please don't. And I mean, there is like a big conflict that is, the plot of the book. And there is something that they need to find in order to help them in the conflict. And I mean, that is the plot, but it's focusing way more on like the feelings side of things. And I mean, there was one part that was super fun where we got to meet a character that was like so insane and unhinged and deranged. And like that was so fun. And I wanted more from that, but they just resolved that whole thing so fast. And they're just focusing on feelings. And two characters that I was like looking forward to seeing in this book, they have barely been there. There was like one chapter maybe in which they were like talking, they were relevant, but that was it. And also I need more of Mish because she is an icon. And I mean, I still like Koraya. I just feel like I like her less. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope the second half of this book focuses more on the plots because it's not going so great. I think it's like sitting at 2.5 stars right now because, like I said, there was that one part that was pretty cool and I was actually excited in what was happening, but everything else I am bored/angry with. And yeah, there's that. I mean, at least my friend who does read romance is enjoying my suffering because like last night I was ranting to her about, what's happening and how I'm not enjoying it. And she seemed very amused with my suffering. So, at least someone's having fun. But that someone definitely isn't me. But I will finish this book and I will get back to you. Okay, so I have finished the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and thank God I finished it, because, I mean, I had many problems with it, but, it just didn't work for me. And in the first half, I complained that they were focusing too much on the romance, which, I mean, for me, by itself, is a problem, but the main issue I had with it is that I felt like the characters weren't acting like they should. And I don't mean like the way I think they should act or like the way I think people should act in general. That is not what I mean. What I mean is, after getting to know them in book one, this is not how I feel like they would have acted. Especially one of those characters, they were acting very unlike what I was expecting. And it just bothered me so much, like the whole book. And I knew that in the end, like we would get there, but I was expecting to, not be that way the whole book. Because like after what happened at the end of book one, I was expecting such a different reaction, like such a different behavior from that character. And so the fact that they were acting so unlike what I was expecting from them, like from what I got to know in an entire book, it just really bothered me. And still in the same theme of behaviors, Like one of the ways, one of the steps that they took to resolve the conflict also felt so unrealistic. And again, I'm talking unrealistic in terms of behavior, because these are, like, most of the characters in this book are vampires. So they have been alive for centuries. They have been thinking a certain way, they have been acting a certain way, they have been believing a certain thing for centuries. And then they just acted in like the opposite way, which again, I feel like it's so unrealistic. And that also really bothered me. And I mean, also, nothing was happening in terms of the plot. So I was either like bored or angry, except with that one scene I said in the first half that was actually really fun. And I wanted more from that. Like, except for that one specific scene, I was either just bored or angry in the entire book. And so yeah, this one really did not work for me, which is so sad because I really like the first book and I really like the novella. So I actually had high expectations for this. And especially like with how book one ended, I was expecting like a big ass conflict, a lot of anger, a lot of hate. And I didn't get any of that. So it was very disappointing. But let's just get into my final thoughts and ratings for the 3 books. So for the first book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I really like the premise and the plot. And there were so many action scenes that were so fun. And the world building itself was also really fun to get to know, because it wasn't just like vampires in our world, it was a whole other world. It was a very like fantasy setting, which I really, really liked. And I also really liked the main character. And yeah, I mean, I had a great time with that book. I didn't really like the romance, but also didn't dislike it. I just was like pretty neutral about it. I didn't care about it, but it didn't bother me. And so yeah, had a really good time with that one. And I am giving that one 4 stars. And then for 6 Scorched Roses, in this one, I loved the main character so much. I connected so much to her. I loved her story. I loved what she was doing. I was so invested in the plot, in her journey, and I just loved it so much. And, you know, maybe I would have liked it to be a little longer to just explore some things a little better, but still really, really liked it. And for this one, the romance, I felt like it was very rushed, but also I didn't dislike it. Once again, I was just pretty neutral about it. And yeah, had a great time with this one. And I am also giving this one 4 stars. And finally, for The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, this is where everything went downhill. And I'm not gonna say a lot about it because I just did, but the main issues were that I feel like the characters weren't acting as they should be from what we got to know of their personalities. And I really started to hate the romance, and there were so many like unrealistic choices and actions. And I mean, the main problem for me is that I felt like nothing was happening, and I was just really kind of bored the whole time. And so yeah, this one just really didn't work for me, and I am giving this one 2 stars. And so yeah, I have finished the series, and that is the end of this reading vlog. And so thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!